Thank you, Bill. Bill Myers and the weather. Rob Reider.
Yes, sir.
You sang the daylights out of that song before, Robbie.
Thank you very, very much. That's one of my favorite songs.
Yesterday on our program, we were talking about you and Mark, and we were cutting up. You can't believe how many people called and said, "We love Rob Reider."
Well, thank you.
They
That's
really
very
like
humbling. You know, I know that you've had to say a couple of things about my not leaving the show because I've been away for a week here and there, and that is really, you know, I appreciate your telling the people that and letting them know that I'm not leaving because I'm not, and I don't want to, and I like it here. But it is very humbling that the people care, and I thank all of you who said things very, very much.
Rob, they don't know how close you came to leaving, though, not voluntarily or not per our decision for you to leave, but you got in one of those Thunderbird jets with the Air Force. You got to be out of your tree.
Well, it's one of those things that I have seen the Thunderbirds fly. I first saw them fly back in 1956, I think, when Port Columbus International Airport opened. And the Thunderbirds were there flying F-100s, and then after that, I saw him fly in Dayton, and then in Cincinnati, then in Dayton, Ohio, and I just flipped. I said, what would it be like to get strapped in the backseat of one of those things and fly?
We're going to find out right now. Here's Rob's certificate, his flight certificate for having flown, and now join Rob Reider and the Thunderbirds.
For as long as I can remember, I've loved flying, and out of the blue of the western sky every Saturday morning is what I looked for, and came Sky King. No, it's the Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds, let's have a one-plus practice. Fives out and clear.
What an incredible sight. When the opportunity came for me to get a ride with the Thunderbirds, I jumped at the chance. But before I could fly with the team, I had to get a flight physical and go through physiological training in order to fly at altitude with a high-performance military jet. The training took place at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base near Dayton, Ohio, in the altitude chamber, a big iron tank with a huge vacuum pump, which would take a group of us to a simulated altitude of 35,000 feet above sea level, almost 7 miles high. All systems were checked, we indicated we were ready, and up we went. At an ascent rate of nearly a mile a minute, it didn't take long to reach 35,000 feet, where we experienced pressure breathing and learned to operate our emergency oxygen equipment. It's pretty rough to talk with oxygen being forced into your lungs.
Okay, this is pretty difficult, right, that's a good tough one there.
Then we flew on down to 25,000 feet and took off our oxygen masks and breathed air which didn't have enough oxygen in it to support life for more than a few minutes. This was the hypoxia demonstration. And after about 2.5 minutes, without proper oxygen supply, I was unable to work even simple addition and subtraction problems. The final phase of our physiological training literally knocked the wind out of us as we experienced rapid decompression, a sudden change in cabin pressure. If we passed this test, our training would be complete and I would be qualified to fly with the U.S. Air Force Air Demonstration Squadron, the Thunderbirds. Here it is. We all passed, and it was not nearly as severe as I had expected. To fly with the Thunderbirds, I had to get to Griffiths Air Force Base at Rome, New York. I would meet the team there and fly with them to Youngstown, Ohio, where they were to perform an air show at the Youngstown Air Reserve Squadron. I met Captain Bob Fleer, Thunderbird number 7. He's the logistics and safety officer for the team. And after a brief inspection of his sleek T-38 advanced trainer built by Northrop Corporation, I climbed aboard number 7, strapped myself into the parachute and into the ejection seat, which had an explosive charge in it should I need to get out of the airplane in a real hurry, put on my helmet, and readied myself to the taxi out to the runway. The T-38 is the world's first supersonic trainer, and it's a gorgeous aerobatic aircraft.
Thunderbirds, release brakes, ready now.
We were shoved back into the backs of our seats, and about 18 seconds later, it seemed like we were at 28,000 feet. All 7 aircraft with spacing of about 12 feet in cruise spread, like you see them there. When they closed them up like now, we were only about 5 feet away from each other's wingtips or bodies. Our arrival at Youngstown was spectacular. First, the solo pilots peeled off. And then Bob Fleer and I, in aircraft number 7, went off on our own to have a little aerobatic fun while the rest of the team did the arrival maneuvers. The purpose of the arrival maneuvers is to give the pilots a chance to get used to an airfield before the actual show. This guy doesn't even know which way's up. It is also part of the continuous training which begins in January of each year and goes through mid-March. During that time, the Thunderbirds fly about twice a day, 6 days a week to prepare for the 9-month-long air show season. It keeps them on the road about 270 days a year. This is the wing walk and roll. And over. Here's a chance to see the diamond formation. Remember, they're going more than 300 miles an hour and only 5 feet separates the planes. The Thunderbirds are Lieutenant Colonel D.L. Smith. He's the boss. Captain Jim Jiggins, left wing. He's from Northville, Michigan. Number 3 is Jim Latham. He's the right wing. He's a former prisoner of war from Southeast Asia. Number 4 is Captain Dale Cook. He flies in the slot position. He's from Somerset, Kentucky. Number 5 is Captain R.D. Evans, the lead solo, from Osceola, Arkansas. Number 6 is Captain Sonny Childers. He's the second solo, from Hartselle, Alabama. Number 7 is Captain Bob Fleer, the logistics officer. He lives in Fort Worth, Texas. And number 8, the narrator, is Captain Pete Peterson from Tuskegee, Alabama. There's approximately a 2.5-year tour for a Thunderbird pilot, after which time he returns to active duty with a regular unit. And even without such a rigorous schedule, the pilots never get their fill of flying. My time in the air in number 7 was only about 45 minutes, but I began to get an understanding of their love for their flying. It's a big bug that bites you and never lets go. And being part of this Thunderbird team makes flying extra special. I talked with Bob Fleer about it as we climbed out of the aircraft. While we were alone, he and I got a chance to fly inverted, do a roll, and I was a little too queasy to fly a loop. But this is what Bob Fleer had to say about flying in the Thunderbird team. Mean to you and to the other guys on the team to have this flight suit on and be part of the best flying team in the world? What does it mean to be a Thunderbird?
Well, to me, it's a highlight of my career. Long before I ever got in the Air Force, I'd seen the Thunderbirds, and I wanted to be one. And I worked my career so that I could be competitive for a slot. And most of the guys feel the same way. We really prize the patch and prize being a member of the team. We also really enjoy the opportunity to go out and meet the public and tell them about the Air Force.
I understand it costs over $3 million a year to operate this team. Some people say that's a waste of taxpayers' money, Bob.
Really, when you spread it out over all the people we see, all of the recruiting and retention help that we give the Air Force, $3 million is a very small expenditure. You know, the Air Force loses people to other jobs, and we recruit all the time, and if we can get these people in and if we can get the public to understand us a little better, $3 million is really quite cheap. Several years ago, we changed from the F-4 aircraft to the T-38 just to cut down the cost, and in fact, you can run 5 T-38s for the price of one F-4, so we're very conscious of that, but we're always trying to save our nickels and pennies, but we feel it's well worth it.
These are the best pilots in the world.
They're the best I've ever flown with.
Rob Reider and the Thunderbird Jets. Thanks to the United States Air Force for their cooperation. Excellent job, Rob. All right, Teddy, look at these faces. Turn these cameras around. Let's take a look at how pretty these people look at our show.